What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Entre Mike back with the Entre Short for Entrepreneur. And in this video, we're going to be going over a Hotshot spot market update and load lane search on Truckstop load board. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure you like it. Drop a comment down if you want to see your city and state in next week's video. This video is sponsored by LogRock, so more on that later. Stay tuned. All right, guys, let's just start off by looking at the overall rates in the market using Truckstop's data. This is real time. So right now it looks like the average rate being posted for flatbed is $219. And for LTL 145. I would say the flatbed hot shots are typically around $220 before they're $1.50 a mile. But LTL and partial is considered, like, a lot of the freight that you guys will be taking will be considered less than truckload, right? Whereas the flatbed rates are posted for $220, and guess what? They're paid around $220. So realize the difference between the average posted and the average that's actually paid out using their data. For LTL, it looks like they can get probably another 5% tacked on, right? Whereas for the truckload rates, they seem pretty similar. I don't see how for reefer they could be going down. But nevertheless, man, let's go ahead and hop into your guys' load searches. Give me 1 second. All right, y'all, we're going to be using the heat map. All right, so we're going to do what we normally do, and that's look at the highest rate per mile and the highest rates. Now on this heat map, what I want you guys to pay attention to over here to the right will be the mileage for each trip. And over here is the rate, and of course the rate per mile is right next to it. So for the highest rate, we have $4,600, which is approximately 2,300 miles for that to be $201 a mile. The next one, we got $3,600 for 0 miles. That may be I don't see how that could be 0 on the mileage. Maybe it's not tracked or it's air miles. What else we got? We got $3,300, same thing, not showing the mileage for it. $3,000 for 27.25 on the miles. $2,500 for 941 miles, 266 a mile. That's actually pretty impressive. For a 40-foot hot shot, that's about 13,000 pounds. So if you're not a CDL hot shot, there's probably not a chance you book that. Highest rate per mile is $16 a mile. So $2,500 for 157 miles. And you got one for 1087 a mile. 92 miles for $1,000. More than likely, this load is probably over-dimensional. You got $750 for 119 miles going from Suwanee, Georgia to Greenville, South Carolina. Got $700 for 131 miles. These loads literally take 2 hours to do, going from Tallapoosa, Georgia down to Commerce, Georgia. And like I said, it's a crap ton of loads. Right now, it's showing 158 total loads within this area at this time. So just keep in mind that there's always going to be a ton of freight. It's just how much freight is going where you want it, right? Because for me, usually I want to start getting my freight within this area to start off my week. But you see most loads look like they're going either to the Northeast or down on to Florida or just regional loads, right? It's not really taking you too far. So I think this is good for you guys to get an eye, like just eyes on to see like how freight moves within a certain region. So let's go ahead and move into the next search, which was Tampa, Florida. A lot of Florida folks. All right, we got Tampa. So let's see what the highest rates are out of. First, we only got 61 loads, so over, 50% less than the last. But let's look at what the highest rate is. $3,000 to go from Lakeland, Florida to New York. That's that should be a pretty decent rate. We got $2,425 for about 2,100 miles. Not the best rate per mile, $1.16. Then we got $2,200 to go from Orlando, Florida to Indianapolis. Got $1.70 to go from Palm Bay, Florida to Oklahoma City, Florida. But this is a good thing for you guys to know too. Look at where the loads are picking up, right? You don't really see any pickups in South Florida. You see all of them kind of within Central Florida up to North Florida. So just keep that in mind when you're actually trying to book for freight out of Florida. You're not going to find anything at the bottom of a panhandle, right? If anything, I kind of encourage most people to deadhead out of Florida if you can. If you don't, some guys I know on Monday, they might book a pretty cheap partial just to get up to the Atlanta area, just to start off their week. But just keep in mind when you're coming out of Florida, it's not a crap ton of freight coming to Georgia. Look at where this freight is going. Like a lot of it's still southeast, right? But it's not necessarily going to where you want to be. All right, guys, the next one we got is Toledo. Toledo, Ohio. Going back to the Midwest. Let's see what we got. Boom. 183 results. Let's see if we can zoom in. It's ridiculous. Look at all those loads. I guess this is a good way to just kind of show where freight availability is on the map. It's not like I have to over explain it, right? I mean, yeah, this is ridiculous. And this is just, of course, within a 150-mile radius within Toledo. So you're talking about an amazing hub for freight for a flatbed hotshot. But let's look at the highest rate. We got $3,000 to go from, it's $260 a mile, from Millersburg, Ohio, down to Louisville, Texas. Or Louisville, Texas. Let me not mess that up. We got $2,400 to go about 2,300 miles to Sacramento. That's actually coming out of Toledo, so no deadhead on that. $2,750 to go to Tucson, Arizona. Let's look at the highest rate per miles. These are solid. These are actual legit loads. They're just small on the actual rate, so I would be looking at something like this: $314 a mile to go from Akron, Ohio to Evansville, Indiana. I would book this in a heartbeat. I probably wouldn't even negotiate more for the load unless it was overdimensional, needed tarps, or was just really, really high and would have a lot of wind drag. So those are the kind of things that you want to look for. Really the dimensions with these loads. We got 313. All of these are pretty small though. All of these are 100 to 150 miles. So not much distance, but you're getting a good rate per mile. You possibly could do a couple in a day if the shippers and receivers have the bandwidth to get you unloaded and loaded quick enough, right? Enough yapping for me on this one. I think you guys can kind of see, for the most part, Toledo is an amazing place, or Ohio in general, for freight, even for a flatbed hotshot. All right, guys, the next one we got is Dallas, Texas. All right, so Texas is kind of weird, right? I mean, you see a lot of freight within Texas, of course, like Texas to Texas loads, but as far as the surrounding states and like the South Central and even some of the Southeast, it's not a crap ton of freight going there. Like I said, my last load after coming from the Southeast to Midwest, South Central, I would always go to Florida. I think this map makes a perfect kind of depiction of how many loads are going to Florida. And usually when you're going to Florida, you got to keep in mind that the rate is going to be higher because they know you're going into a panhandle. But because I lived in Georgia, this made perfect sense for me. Like, I would be okay with, if I dropped a load on Friday in Florida, I'm just going to deadhead back to Georgia. Or if I had to drop a load even on Saturday or Monday, I'm just going to deadhead back to Georgia and then start out of my home base, right? And then if it was north, Florida, I could sometimes get away with like coming on I-10 and staying home and then going south on 75 to actually drop it. So that's just like how my thought process works. I know depending on where you live is going to majorly affect how you run your routes and your triangles and your lanes. I just want to give you guys as much insights as I can during these videos. But let's start off with the highest rates. We got $3,600. Looks like that $3,000 is a sweet spot for the highest rates coming out of here. McGregor, Texas to California. We got $1.75 to go from Sherman, Texas to Portland, Oregon. 2,000 miles for $3,500. Wow. And then we got, let's see, $3,300 to go from, I'm not even going to try that, Texas to West Sacramento. What are the highest rate per miles looking like? $13 a mile, but it's only 22 miles. All right, $300 for 22 miles. Not too shabby. We got 543, 46 miles for 250. Not the best. I would be kind of looking at the rates in congruency with the highest rate per mile. So we got 289 for 1,000. So about 350 miles going from Irving, Texas to Odessa, Texas. Not too bad. Those loads only take 4 or 5 hours to do, and you make $1,000 on that one load. So it's not too bad. But I think that's good for Dallas. That's good for Dallas. Just out of curiosity, I wonder what we're looking like in Houston a few hours down. Wait, did I do it right? Wait. Houston. There we go. I hit clear, that's why. Let's see what we got. I think we had a little bit over 150, so about 125, around the same volume. But as you can see, these loads, like I said, it's a lot of Texas to Texas, right? Still a lot of, like, it's just scattered, really scattered. But as I said, still a good bit of freight going to Florida, so it's kind of validating that lane to be from Texas to Florida for like a pretty good, decent rate. At least that's how I did it. I'm not gonna keep, I'm just giving y'all my insights. So we got Cleveland, Texas to, is that Camara, Wyoming? For $3,800. That's the highest rate. We got $2,800 to go from Houston to San Diego, California, just partial. $2,700 to go from Baytown, Texas to, I'm just gonna say Nevada. Another 27, that's the same load. We got $2,350 to go from Houston, Texas to Mandan, North Dakota. 1,429 miles for $1.64. I'm not going to North Dakota for that, but somebody's probably trying to get home. Highest rate per mile. All of these loads that's at the top are less than 150 miles. Let's go to one with some decent mileage. About 300 miles for $800 to go from Houston to Louisiana. Louisiana, of course, is going to be a deader zone, though. We got 254 for 300 miles, basically, to go from Texas to Texas. So good bit of freight coming out of South Central. Let's give it another load search. All right, guys, we got a search result for Salt Lake City, Utah. I want to be honest here. I mean, it's only 38 results here. This is what we would call, of course, an LTL, a dead zone. So only 38 loads. That means the brokers are going to have more leverage over the freight, right? And the rates that come out of here, because there's not a lot of demand out of this area, right? So you got $2,000 for the highest rate going from Salt Lake City going to Missouri. Not too bad to actually get out of Salt Lake City, though. We got North Salt Lake City to Kansas City, Missouri. I mean, I don't know if these are similar loads, but they got similar rates going to somewhat similar locations. $1,650 to go from Spanish Fork, Utah to East St. Louis, Illinois. So at least they're going to decent places, but the rates are just not the best. Highest rate per mile. Got a short hop, 46 miles for $400. Utah to Utah. What else we got? We got Utah to Idaho, paying $278 a mile. But when you go to Idaho, it's going to be a lot of the same story. But I have seen a lot of guys where they just keep going to places that are quote unquote dead zones, and they go from dead zone to dead zone. So they might go from Utah to Wyoming, Wyoming to Washington, Washington to Montana, and they can still make pretty good freight because there's not a lot of trucks that's going to place themselves there, right? Unless they live there, because it's just not the best terrain. It's not the best weather. It's not a lot of really work out there to begin with. It's not a big population of people living out there, so it's just kind of expected. Not a lot of freight coming in, not a lot of freight coming out, right? And that's going to wrap up this video, guys. If you guys need a trucking insurance quote, like I said, check the link in the description for LogRock. I work with them personally. And like I said, if you guys want to see your city and state in next week's video, make sure you drop down your city and state so we can review it. We had a few more in the comment sections, but they were very similar searches, and this video was already getting pretty long. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.